Yeah, how's it going? Today is 13th of April, Saturday, and we are taking a look at the market, what kind of opportunities are available in this video. Let's take a look at history, right? Since we take a look at a new initiative in UK, let's take a look at history and Freeport initiative at first got started in China, right? And to do it, let's take a look at history, and we're gonna be taking a look at the research brief done by Zhang Wu Yan, which is great. It's always great. So perhaps this person knows what he's talking about, which would be that's what I'm looking for, right? I hope the person is from Asia, right? Since I think this person is taking part within China law and development, and this research work was done someone who is currently in UK. So he's in UK and he's doing work on China. So I hope this person understands it. And we're gonna be taking a look at University of China Law School, and this work was published on November 30th, 2020, 4 years ago. So this is how then it got started way before then, but perhaps this initiative was very successful, and now someone is looking copy paste its initiative in UK. so, so it's I don't know. My expectations and setting expectations for in-person conference that's gonna be held in Plymouth. My expectations, I don't know, comfortable. It's got at the comfortable level, but perhaps let's see what these people are being forced within the good place, great place like Plymouth are being forced to do, right? And let's take a look at briefly at history, and from there we have some reference point to see how successful people can be when it comes to actually executing some of these initiatives, right? Entire report. That will be 5 pages, right? So there's gonna be a lot of read. I haven't read it yet, so I hope it's very full of information. It might be completed by a student, and I'm not sure what student was looking for when completing this work. I think and I hope there's gonna be a lot of numbers, so it would be a sound investment. So once that's been acknowledged, if it's on an investment and it's succeed or overall this initiative within China, and now UK is looking to copy, I will repeat that a couple more times. Something that seems to be working. So let's try to understand it. Key points that will be free trade ports, the latest experimental practice in China, comprehensive reform, and opening up. Okay. I don't know about. It's never been closed, right? I don't think China was ever closed. Perhaps other places like North Korea, it's been closed, and China has never been closed. So far so good. Let's progress. Hainan's free trade port is expected to become a regional and international economic engine, which raises significant challenges in the process of free trade ports development, both internationally and domestically. And the last point would be the legislation of Imetry Free Trade Board. Law will provide the initial framework for the development of Hainan Free Trade Port, but significant issues remain. Okay, so perhaps this person that filling in this document or brief, completing it, he has preconceptions, all right. Perhaps it's a British-born Asian person. So, okay, I had high expectations. What do you do? China was the first prominent special economic zone in China, and once again, it stands at the forefront of China's reform and internationalization throughout the establishment of the Hainan Free Trade Port. In Chinese central government realized the overall plan for the construction of Hainan Free Trade Port overall plan on June 2020. So, okay. So I thought it's way back, but perhaps this particular port, that's a date, right? The support Highness to explore the advanced and over construction of free port, which Chinese characteristics It marks a new historical stage of Hainanese construction and or development. Some scholars have already stressed the potential policy consequences of they would be referring to this project, right? But to understand the future roadmap for this project development and concept of free trade port needs to be clarified. So myself, I'm looking to understand this concept, right? And potential benefits that can offer to the government, all these kind of good things, right? What is free trade port? The concept was first proposed in the 19th century. Chinese Communist Party National Congress report in October 2017, and was further explored by then Vice Premier. Okay, there's a name that I won't be able to pronounce. Yang, I guess. In November in the same year, in his article, Yang suggests that the free trade port will be the predecessor predecessor with a high level of okay. Let's delve a little bit deeper, right? So I'm looking to understand the history, right? And I don't know if this person's work was scored and why he was completing this work, but either way, let's try to understand it. Let's continue. And high level of openness, better business environment, and stronger economic traditions for Chinese reform and opening up. Again, they're referring to opening up. I don't think it at any point was closed. I don't know what they're referring to with opening up. Let's progress. And will play a significant role in so perhaps the China would be inward facing, right? So perhaps now would be external facing, which I would not necessarily agree if that's what this person is referring to. But either way, Chinese reform to opening up and will play a significant role in innovation development in China opening up economy. Yang did not give a clear definition of free trade port, but he used another concept, free port, to illustrate free trade port. Okay, okay, so basically it means that the Chinese style free trade port. Okay, okay, we keep repeating that. Okay, okay. Free port and the socialism with Chinese characteristics. According to Yang, a free port is specific area located inside border of country region but outside customs territory where goods, funds, and or potential personnel moves freely and in and out, and most commodities are exempt from tariffs. I can put the people who understand it, but I don't know. I can put that into perspective, right? So that would be closed in territory. Within that territory, there would be a lot of manufacturing happening, right? So there would be imported goods, commodities, right? Things would be manufactured, and once things have been manufactured, things would be exported, right? People will come in, do their work, and leave that territory. And all the work has been carried out. Potentially, we have some tax incentives, right? At least that's how I understand it, right? The example of free ports includes Hong Kong, Dubai, Singapore, and Rotterdam. That would be Netherlands. Okay, all true. Free port is now new concept. Young definition divides from the general meaning of emphasizing port function and location. All of the free ports he used example as cities instead of only port areas. Okay, okay. Perhaps it has wide implementations when it comes to recent investments and how much some of the Chinese businesses are currently investing into infrastructure and actually acquiring ports. Right, this is what something that's happening, been highlighted, and a lot of governments are noticing that. But either way, obviously, Yang's view only those international trading centers allowing people and goods to flow freely can be called free ports. They are special economic areas with a higher level of openness, and in the current world, can be interred that free ports should also be city or larger area with characteristics of the free ports instead of just the free port location in a adjacent to the port. Okay, okay. So that's definition. Okay, we understand it. Let's forget. The driver behind the construction of the that particular port with the project within China is to encourage ensure the free flow of people. Since the 1980s, China has been exploring way to deepen the opening up of outside world. China's first attempt was setting up a special economic zones, which are actually more like export processing zones, encouraging exports but restricting imports. Okay, interesting idea. China then realized that free movement of goods by establishing the bounded zones in the 1990s and more later services trade was further opened up throughout the free trade zones. In goods are treated as outside of China customer. However, foreigners who worked in residents of FTAs are still treated as inside China borders and required to pay Chinese value added tax and other business taxes under Chinese tax law than providing services since FTAs. These are generally small and fragmented, located in cities, and definitions is separate from the other areas. It's almost impossible to relax visa and immigration policies to allow foreigners to work and all resident freely in just these areas in other prominent greater international trades and or attract more foreign talent. Chinese needed a wider scale approach. I don't know if that's what they're actually interested. Perhaps so. I'm not necessarily agree that this is what they're interested. But either way, perhaps on a wider scale, they're looking how to scale this concept, right? So perhaps thinking about 20 years from now and how they can scale it. Then perhaps yes, but not necessarily in the beginning. But either way, which is a focus of places that are both isolated from other areas and convention for foreigners to conduct business and or take up residence. Okay, okay. Large but relatively independent from the mainland, Hainan Iceland is the best place in China to build free ports. Okay, so we were considering islands, but I don't know about the infrastructure, right? Inland roads and all these kind of things. But anyway, China plans to turn the wall of Hainan Iceland into free trading ports and start island-wide customary closure of interesting, I don't know, closure operations by 2025 to allow the straightforward entry and or exit of the people by 2035. The goal is to make let's progress. I don't know, they're even considering islands now. The most accessible places in China by then people are residents of HETP will be treated as outside of China customs, and VAT will be eliminated after island-wide customs closure, unless otherwise provided by the law. Although there is still time before the island-wide customs closure to attract domestic and or foreign expertise. Hainan has already adopted favorable policies like talent criteria without nationality limits, long-term visas for foreign talent, and corresponding professional personal income tax rate, right? So they take a look at taxes and potentially building islands. Within those islands, everyone can perform a lot of tasks, right? Potentially, people would benefit from entry and or oversight of those islands. These kind of things they take a look at. But either way, the concept of free trading ports comes from Freeport, but has been given a more Chinese sense by national leaders. The construction of HFTP should be in line with the need of Chinese reform and opening up contribute to China's economic development, and yet the expectations contained within free trading ports concept will bring both opportunities and challenges for Hainan. Goals of challenges of the HFTP. The overall plan claims that final development goal of HFTP is to build free trade, a port with strong international influence. I don't know about this part, but either way, by the middle of the century, referencing Hong Kong, I don't know. I think it's not necessarily because I've been influenced by other data, right, about how much infrastructure has been currently always seen, and how and what would be important, right? So that would be manufacturing, right, investment, these kind of things that they're actually focusing on, and they're looking how to scale this model right across the globe and all logistical challenges and how they can expand it. So I think that's a key area. So I don't know what they're referring to other than that. I think that's what's really important. What you do it high level free trade ports with strong international influence by the middle of the century, referencing Hong Kong, Singapore, Rotterdam, and Dubai. Perhaps there's a lot of investments already made, and or there's a lot of potential within those areas. Maybe. And internationally influenced free trade ports should have the last three characteristics. Let's delve into those three characteristics, right? Become a logistical center. Oh, here we go. That's potentially so it could be potentially been done locally, not necessarily internationally, where it's currently been done. So instead of perhaps within China, they're looking to do that with mentioned places like Singapore, right? So if we could build similar area within Singapore, that I think that's what's really happening. But either way, become logistical center and trading center that dominates global and all regional trade activities. Hong Kong, Singapore, and Dubai all have world-class seaports and airports, and some of the governments, including our businesses within China, already purchase a large percentage within Greece, within Rotterdam, other places of Europe, and I think they're operating those allocations way better, by the way. But either way, and Rotterdam has the largest port in Europe. During the process of developing trade centers, all these cities benefit from high quality transport links, which provided a more favorable trading environment and facilitates business transactions. Become a high level service center. Once a port becomes a transportation hub, there will be a high volume exchange of commodity, talent, money, and information, which will create increasing demand for local infrastructure, finance, research, and other services. To meet this need of physical trade, service trade should also go rapidly and create new hubs. That's how it should work. I mean, I do agree with this. This is how it should work. So that's why myself, I'm so interested in taking a look at a leadership of including one that I'll most likely would meet with in Plymouth. If leadership understands this part, but either way, let's progress. Become a wealth management center. Hong Kong, Singapore, Rotterdam, and Dubai are well cosmopolitan cities with a high level of modernization, urbanization, and internationalization, which attracts significant proportion of world's affluent population. Okay. So it's something that they're focusing on. But so far, so good. I know the city is going to be very long, I guess. To achieve these goals, Hainan must overcome multiple challenges that drive from both international and our domestic issues. The most significant challenges is the increasingly conservative international environment. The development of free ports is closely related to traditional liberalization and globalization. Hong Kong, Dubai, Singapore have seized the opportunity brought about the global production and have responded to a high demand for logistics. However, the global economic has become increasingly depressed in recent years, or slowing down, right? This raise unilateral and protectionism, increasing global trade friction and market uncertainty, which blow off the confidence in international investment. There's some words I cannot say, but there was outbreak. It has also led to a sharp decline in international trade. According to a World Bank, pandemic will trigger. Okay. I don't know if I can say even to that word. Will trigger the deepest global recession in the decades and will cause low investment and erosion of human capital throughout the low work and or scaling and fragmentation of global trade and or supply linkages in the context of new international trading centers will struggle to emerge, right? As well as increasing value, right? So currently, so I was taking a look at the different studies being completed, right, where it used to cost one close to roughly about $1 for an hour with the labor force within China currently. Was for it progress and our skill development with the places like China, right? So it increased up to $9 right now. So where manufacturing within China is very expensive, or it's getting very expensive, and other opportunities, and perhaps it's been recognized, and they themselves they have recognized this opportunity, and they're looking to progress in building such a hubs other places, right? Domestically has HFTPs facing intense competitive pressures, even with the exceptions of Hong Kong. China already has 20 other FTS, including Shanghai, Beijing. So there's a lot of potential ways how we're looking to scale this concept of free ports. That particular project that we're taking a look at within this example does not have competitive advantage compared to the zones. Although Hainan has previous experience in construction of the ZES's economic growth lags behind the other areas of the country in 2019. I don't know location, right? So perhaps a lot of cheap gas and how much energy cost, right? Places like Germany is currently struggling with energy costs. Even we take a look at manufacturing, right? So if I don't know where this location is it at the south in the bottom, or is location at the top, right, at the north, so to say, right, of China? If it's at the north, I think perhaps purchase a lot of cheap gas from places like Russia. If it's at the bottom, it's Hainan. I think that's where they purchasing a lot of cheap gas, right? So there's a lot of ways how we can increase output and or value of what the goods that's been manufactured and how much those goods do cost, right? But either way, growth lags behind other areas of the country in 2019. Hainan's GDP was 530.9 billion yuan, ranking fourth from the bottom across the nation. Filling economic gap will present challenges from the creation of the HFTPs and addition to expected undertaking regional and or even national economic development tasks, for example, the central and or western region of the China. So western, right? So that is not necessarily that anything's happening within west of China, right? They're building trains and all the train station, all these kind of things, but there is not necessarily water there. But either way, cross-nation filling economic gaps will present challenges for creation of the HFDP in addition to expected or undertaking regional and or even national economic development tasks. For example, with the central and or western region of the China, which suffered for influence and development, the central government planned to build the three new western land sea corridors, right? So I would say trains, right? Perhaps next to ports, the cheapest way of moving goods. Links in the Silk Road economic belt and or 2021 century maritime Silk Road. All three will start from different points and at there's named the Beibu Gulf, which located between the Guangxi province and Hainan province. There's the name of the Yangon port. I think that's how you pronounce it, which is located on the west coast of Hainan Island, will be integrated into Beifu Gulf outlet. As such, a key location onto Belt and Road, HFTP is expected to support the western region of China, then participating in international economic cooperation and to advance the western development in the new era. These expectations will put the HFTP under great pressure. Another problem is the course of Hainan FTP development. Ports are naturally suitable for development of free trade, and those cities that use the port as their main or sole function are essentially free cities. Okay. Okay, let's progress to last page of this report. The free cities, right? The best example of Hong Kong, where the entire city serves as a port and carries out free port policy, completing the initial capital accumulation throughout transit trade. The port economic and urban economy are highly integrated and both contribute to the development of the whole city. However, Hainan lacks an influential harbors and has not developed transit trade. These deficiencies could cripple the HEFTP development, and all finite goals may not be achieved on time, right? So perhaps let's bring it back. Let's bring it back home, right? Within UK, right? So when they were picking what locations they want to give this and offer this initiatives, the Freeport initiative, they had to have perhaps very strong infrastructure. Business no activity level not necessarily very high. Perhaps there is a lot of opportunities, but not necessarily very high, right? I would say. But either way, let's progress. Legislations of HFTP law due to its weak foundations and pressing challenges. The development of the HFTP faces it as crucial of strengthening confidence of consumers and or investors. The overall plan makes it clear that a FTP policy and legal framework will be established by 2025, and the Hainan Free Trade Port will be legislated as soon as possible. True, Hainan Free Port law is still being drafted. It's likely that the HFTP will be granted special legal status. At present, only the says authorize the special law making powers and enhance and enforce regulations applicable to UCS and FTZs are now special trading zones are not authorized with such powers and can only make general laws regulated under Act 74 of Legislation Law of China. Since Hainan's Free Trade Port Law should be passed and enhanced by National People's Congress and its standing committee, if HFTP is given law-making powers in the region, the legal effect of the okay, so that's the details, right? HFTP regulations will equals these regulations either through Highness also says that no free trading zone is authorized will still be real significance, highlighting the special legal status of the HFTP, right? So they keep referring to that. So it's something that has started 4 years ago. This is a report that was published someone from within UK, and now UK's government is taking notice and they looking to introduce similar initiatives within UK. But currently it's under works. It's very early, by the way, within UK. So perhaps within a cycle, it's very similar. Perhaps 4 years behind, but it's very similar. But who knows, right? But either way, conclusion. Let's close this video on that. Perhaps let's say hi to this person. Overall, it's great work. The person did a lot of work. I was expecting a little bit more numbers. Other than that, it's great work. Numbers, how well it's performing, all this kind of good data, how many opportunities, jobs, all these kind of things, very important things. Other than that, perfect. Brief overall, stayed on point, cover all the necessary information, and where things are, where things potentially can be, without necessarily taking a look at our data and our taxes, all this kind of things. It was briefly a little bit, but not necessarily enough. But other than that, let's close the conclusion. Support timely and effective trade reform. The highest free trade port law should provide an effective framework, which leaves ample room for policymakers, yet secure policy predictions by the setting principles and guidelines. Once the law is enhanced, it will only work on the HFTP, but will also receive a free reference for all free trading zones. The principles established by the law will play fundamental role in the future reforms and opening up China. They keep saying opening it up. It's just never been closed. No. China, I guess I'll repeat myself, it was inward facing, right? So perhaps that's what it's not necessarily inward. So they're perhaps looking for expanded, right? So when you take something that works and perhaps you're looking to expand it, not necessarily to operate only domestically. That's how I would rephrase it. But either way, role future reforms and opening of China. This research will be updated with legislation development, right? Well, let's see if we can reach out to this person. It seems that person is on top of things, right? Thanks for watching. See you next one.